Should I start, Deidre? I think time is gone. Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is a press conference that is called by the Civil Society Coalition that is in response to COVID-19. This is the group that is focusing on food security in the country, especially under agroecology. We, as the civil society organization, we've called this press conference. My name is Moipone Jwayi. I'm from the Rural Women Assembly. I'll be chairing the session of today. And with me, I have panelists that are going to be part of our discussion. This press conference is being called by the civil society coalition in response to the austerity budget that has been presented by the minister and the government. We have noted that this austerity budget comes at a time when we are facing a pandemic in our country that has have shown that an impact of our historical background of this inequality in the country, of poverty, deep poverty, and also that so in a time where our people are suffering in terms of the past inequalities. So this pandemic has shown us the deeper and the grassroots level suffering of our people. And it has shown a contrast of what has been outlined there is that we have a rainbow nation that is managing well within the country. So it has laid bare all the inequalities in the country. And we have noted that this budget is going to have a severe impact on the lives of our people. We've noted that this deep cut, especially that has been made on the budget of a Department of Agriculture and the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development, is going to affect the lives of our people, especially from the rural background. We believe that the lives of our people is going to be affected, especially we as the small-scale farmers, the fisheries, and also people from the rural areas who are depending on small-scale farming to feed their households. We also, as the civil society organization, we feel that and we believe that this is going to deepen the poor budget that we are having in the country, the budget crisis that we are experiencing because of the past lending and loans that were done by the IMF in the past. So we have inherited a huge budget that has not managed to address the inequality of South Africa. So hello, Sean, we are welcome. I was introducing the people to the press statement and to why we called this press conference. We also believe that this budget cut that has been introduced by government is going to affect the food system, the health of our poor people. With me, I have panelists that are going to talk on the statement that we have issued. We have Solene Smith. Solene Smith, she's a small-scale fishery who has been supporting her household. She's part of the group of fisheries who are depending on that is the part of their livelihood to support their own household, especially also the community. So Solene is going to talk on how this budget is going to affect their livelihood, and also how them as the community are going to feel the brunt of this budget. And then also within the panelists, we have Andile. Andile Mapisa, he's a farmer. He's been farming as a small-scale farmer, and also he's been assisting a lot in terms of responding to the COVID-19 food insecurity in their local economy. And Andile and his group has been doing this for the past stages of lockdown without the help of government, where they have produced fresh vegetables for their local community. And they feel that, you know, with this budget cut, they're going to suffer because they were expecting that at least the budget will increase in terms of agriculture so that they can get a support from government. And then we have seen that Miami is here. We are welcome. We also have Naseegh. Naseegh is from Masifundise. He's been a director for the past 20 years, mobilizing the community within the fisheries. They've been mobilizing around the 5 coastal provinces that we have in the country. So these panelists, they are going to talk on the statement and also in response to what is their take on the austerity budget that has been presented by government and how it's going to impact our people. We have also outlined in our statement that we have the call that we're making, and we're insisting government should address on that statement. So feel free to go through the statement and familiarize yourself with the points of the civil society that is calling on government to address. So for now, I would like to call Andile, if Andile is ready. Comrade Andile, are you ready at the moment to be online?
Good morning, Comrade Moipone, and give thanks for having me. Yes, I'm ready to present.
Okay, Comrade Andile, the platform is yours. You can present for 5 minutes, and the other panelists should mute their mic so that we can be able to hear Comrade Andile clearly. Comrade Andile, the platform is yours.
Thanks. As you said earlier, that we are a small-scale farmers as youths in our area. So we believe that this a budget cut from small-scale farmers, I mean, will have a huge impact. So as we are, I mean, struggling even right now, I mean to grow, I mean to develop our produce. So this budget cut, it's challenging, and a lot of us as young I mean farmers and small scale farmers we're gonna suffer as well. So I think government I think should, I mean, put support to the small government, I mean to the small scale farmers, so that the small scale farmers can produce more food for locally and yes, for marketing. Yes. So we.
Comrade Andile, you're welcome to make presentation in Xhosa if you feel comfortable with it, so that you can be able to.
Oh, okay, big thanks.
Yes.
Yeah. So see, we as young people and the farmers, the small scale farmers, yeah, siyasokola kakhulu and sisokola kakhulu land ekufumaneni umhlaba, because we need more land and and water as well. And there's poor water infrastructure in rural areas, and as well as in some parts in urban areas. So we as small farmers, we are experiencing a huge challenge. Now we can't produce enough food, and there's this water shortage, and without water, you can't produce, you can't grow. And as we quite know that water is an economic enabler. So yes, we are without water and more land and tools. So we cannot develop fully. To food sovereignty. So we think that a government we should put more support on small scale farmers, so that we can produce more. I'll make an example of us. We don't have water, and our and water BCM municipality has cut off the water. Yes, we stole the water. It was illegal, yes, but again, we have been pushed to store the municipality water, so that we can produce food then, so that that fresh food we can support our soup kitchen, because we are doing soup kitchen for we cook on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So we take that produce, that fresh produce, and cook for people who are taking a medicine treatment, so that they cannot default their treatment. So yes, this cut it will izasokolisa kakhulu enkosi. Yeah. Even COVID-19. So.
Oh yes, still continue, comrade. We still have time. Yes,
even this COVID-19 pandemic has a situation worse than before, because we didn't even receive those drought relief in 2019 and 2018, and now there's this COVID-19 pandemic. So it's worse, and things are getting worse than better. So yes, we are struggling. We need a real support. We need a financial injection. We need all these all these tools, so that we can develop economically. And once we develop, small scale farmers develop, surely the economy of the country will develop eventually. So I think government should prioritize our the small scale farming. And we as Inyanda National Land Movement, we supporting this agroecological system farming or farming, because we believe it's sustainable for our health and for our environment. And we stand against, and we fight against this this deforestation, all this cutting trees. So it affects us directly. So we stand against that, and we want everyone to be on board and fight against this against this deforestation and degradation of the environment. So yes, we're gonna suffer without a healthy environment. There will be no us, and if we don't act right now, we're gonna be affected as well. So we believe that government is always supporting the big commercial farmers, who are producing food to just to import the produce. So we believe that I think it's time now, government to put more more resources and more. When I say more resources, more money and machineries to to the small scale farmers, so that we can develop the economy of the country.
Okay. Thank you, Comrade Andile, with the short and precise input. Welcome, everyone. At the moment, we were having Comrade Andile on the platform presenting from small-scale farmers. He's from the Inyanda National Land Movement. Those who have question and answers, we will wait for the question and answer session at the end of the presentation from the panelists. Or you can send your questions or comments to the chat platform. Thank you, Comrade Andile. What I've noted from what you have just presented is just that even the infrastructure of agriculture is lacking. And we as small-scale farmers and people from the fishery background, we were expecting the budget to be increased in order to address this poor infrastructure within our communities, especially the water, because our country is in a water crisis, especially Eastern Cape, Comrade, like you are saying, is experiencing a severe water crisis. So thank you, Comrade Andile, with your presentation. Next, I'm going to call Comrade Solene Smith. Comrade Solene, she's from the fishery, and also she's from the Langebaan on the West Coast. Comrade Solene, can you please unmute and you are on the platform now and do your presentation. Comrade Solene, she's going to present in Afrikaans, and then for the interpretation of what Comrade Solene is going to do is going to be summarized after she has done her presentation. Thank you, Comrade Solene. You can take the platform now.
Goeiemôre, ek is Solene Smith, de leier hier in Langebaan in die Weskaap. Ons as small-scale vissers is presies soos die kleinskaalse boere, maar ons kry niks ondersteuning van die regering nie. En ons is baie belangrik vir die voedselsekuriteit van die hele land. Maar in Suid-Afrika was ons uitgesluit tot nou en groot maatskappye kry voorkeur toegang tot high-value species. Die marketstruktuur benefit die groot maatskappye. Dit het nog niks gedoen om die kapitalistiese systeem te verander nie. As gevolg van dit het ons in Suid-Afrika baie onvolhoubare voedselsysteem. Nou het COVID dit net erger gemaak. Die UN en FAO het spesifieke subsidies en ondersteuning vir kleinskaalse vissers. Die nuwe budget het niks vir small-scale vissers. Ons het nog nie eens regte nie vir amper 20 jaar interim relief vissers, maar nie eens 'n relief fund in plek nie. Ons vis lê nog in die water. Daar is nie eens 1% in budget vir small-scale vissers. Asseblief, ons vissers lê honger. Ons soek 'n COVID relief fund onmiddellik. Help ons vissers, hulle gaan dood van die honger. As ek vir julle moet vertel, ek het self begin enkel is oorlede, Januarie maand, het ek begin met 'n sopkombuis. Ons het net gekry een once-off food parcel wat nie meer lankal nie meer bestaan nie. En ek het begin met 'n sopkombuis en ek gee elke dag kos vir my mense om my vissers aan die lewe te hou. Dis baie moeilik. Ek hoor mense praat van release van 'n budget. Maar vandat ek, en dit is 20 jaar gelede begin, het ek nog nooit gehoor, ergens in 'n budget is daar iets vir die small-scale vissers. Ons in die Weskaap sit nog steeds met interim relief, het nog geen regte nie. Ons moet lewe van die hand tot die mond. Ons sukkel met markets, ons sukkel met 'n klomp goed, en om te sien dat daar niks in die budget is vir small-scale vissers is teleurstellend. En ek wil my misnoë uitspreek om te sê, Maak plek in jou budget vir small scale vissers asseblief. Lani! Lani!
Moipone, you are muted, and Solene, you are not muted.
Comrade Solene, yes, thank you, my dear sister. I know we as women, we are multitasking. You know, we are looking after our grandchildren, and also on the other side, we are trying to, you know, push the point and the voice of the voiceless on the ground as mothers. So yeah, we understand, my comrades, that we as a grandmother, you are looking after the grandkids. But when you are on the platform or trying to do something, just mute yourself, my comrade. Thank you. Thank you for this powerful presentation, my comrade, and also voicing out the plight of the small fishers. Because what we know is that the government is putting more support on big corporate farmers, especially these big trawlers that would be coming into our shores and taking out all our fishes. And then we as the small scale fishers, we are suffering to deliver. Like you are saying, we are living on hand to mouth. And during this past lockdown, we have suffered with the small scale fishers have not received even a single food parcel from government, and they have not received from the relief COVID-19 relief fund. And you are calling on government to look into this and also to give support to small scale fishers. And with this budget cut, we are really disappointed that the government didn't think about our people on the ground, especially those who are taking care of the communities and the household at the local level. Thank you, Comrade Solene. Comrade Sadi, Naseegh, I believe that you are ready, my comrade. Comrade Naseegh, he's one of our comrades who's been on board for the past 20 years. He's been mobilizing the fishery communities. Where they manage to get them organized and also to address the plight and the challenges that they are facing, and so to challenge government to give support to the small scale fishers. We know that when you are there down there, nobody is taking care of you. Nobody is, you know, is creating a platform. So Comrade Naseegh is one of those prominent activists in this fishery background that has been assisting small scale farmers to organize themselves and also to put pressure on government to assist, to give support. So Comrade Naseegh, the platform is yours. We are also giving 5 minutes to you to present. Thank you, my comrade, for attending. And also, before comrade, I would like to acknowledge all the media people who are joining in. We see we have a huge response now from the media. The media is now taking interest in our conversations. You are all welcome, the media people who are on now online. Thank you. You can take the platform, Comrade Naseegh.
Thank you, Kum. Yeah, my name is Naseegh Jaffer. I'm from Masifundise. Masifundise is a civil society organization that works in coastal fishing communities. We do social mobilization work, but we also advocate for improved policy and legislation. We've been doing so for many, many years. I need to start off by saying that this budget is illogical. It just simply does not make sense that in a time of crisis, in a time of social and food crisis in particular, the state directs resources away from social needs, away from food pathways, away from situations where people can find relief, towards the army and the police. It just makes no sense. You know, where the need is, you invest money. You don't invest money. but you invest in the army, it suggests that the government is getting ready for some kind of offensive in a hard way. So that's the first point where it doesn't make sense. It's illogical. The second area where it is illogical is that a huge amount or increased investment goes into local authorities or municipalities. Now, if we just go back in the last number of years, it is self-evident to see that in local authorities is where the biggest corruption takes place. Local authorities are meant to be the spaces closest to communities, and in fishing communities, particularly in rural communities, that is acute. You know, there's a strong interaction between communities and local authorities, but it is the municipalities that is the most corrupt. You know, so this is illogical. We want to say that under the regulations, under the announcement of to deal with COVID, fish has been put forward as an essential commodity, as an essential item. Now that suggests immediately that small-scale fishing should be supported and capacity should be built, because small-scale fishing is the type of fishing that provides food more directly to local communities on the coast and in the inland. But no support comes into fishing. You know, no support is directed there. You know, it plays the most vital role, but there's there's silence in the budget about fisheries. And critically also, Minister of Fisheries, Minister Creasy, has repeatedly spoken about how capacity must be built to improve fishery management. Now, if that is what the minister in the cabinet is saying, surely the Minister of Finance would then take note and listen and accommodate for that. So it seems to me that the people in the cabinet, the ministers, just don't connect with each other. They don't prioritize together. They don't strategize together. So it just, you know, again, suggests to us that this budget is a problematic budget. But what stands out for me, and I hear the arguments of our small-scale farmer comrades, we have heard that the minister has given, or the president has given, a huge amount of millions, billions of rand to agriculture. That largely goes to commercial agriculture. There is nothing for fishing. You know, even though fishing is essential, recognized as that, there is just no investment, there is no support, there's nothing coming from the department or from the ministry in this regard. So it is important for us, you know, at this stage to say that this budget fails fishing communities. Like all previous budgets has, this budget fails, but it is worse because it failed us at a time of food crisis. It failed us at a time of economic crisis, and it fails us at a time of a global pandemic. You know, so what we want to say to the minister and to both ministers, in fact, that right now you've got to step up. Right now you have to change gears. Right now you have to take a position that is sensitive to the needs of communities and that opens up the pathways to food sovereignty in the long term. The opportunity is now. You can still make changes. You can still correct the mistakes of what is in the current budget. Thank you.
Thank you, my comrade. Thank you. Very powerful. Very powerful. You know, you have made a most interesting point that the government has failed the people once again, especially during this time where, you know, COVID has given us a chance to reflect on us, on government to do things differently. We have seen corruption. We have seen municipalities that there's been reports, you know, the AGs reported that most of the budget, you know, of the municipality has been misused. All the provinces, you know, And you have highlighted one of the points that during this planning, during this strategic planning of government, they've left out the people in this. And it's time for them to do things differently. And it is not too late to come on board, to bring the people on board, because you cannot do things without us, for us. That's why the civil society is emphasizing that, you know, as government, you must bring us here or on the platform, because we understand our position on the ground. We understand what needs to be done. And we are doing it. Is just it is not that we are talking about something that we don't understand. And whereas we are sitting in boardrooms, you know, without any practical experience of farmers, small scale farmers, and also small scale fishers on the ground. They know better. They know their lives. They know how they've been living on the ground, how they have managed to sustain themselves with, as household and as communities throughout. They have a huge experience. So thank you, Comrade Naseegh, with that input. We are still welcoming. I see most of the people are still connecting to this platform. Thank you very much for attending this. We just had Comrade Naseegh from Masifundise. He was presenting on fisheries. Those who have missed the previous presentation, you will get the video will be circulated on YouTube or Facebook, and also you'll be emailed most of the conversation that we're taking, and we are still going to do follow up on this. We are also going to take you along the processes that you are going to engage in. We are going to have our last speaker, which is Professor Raymond Auerbach. Professor has been doing it practical. You know, when we talk about the professor, we think that somebody who's, you know, coming with theories. But Professor has been producing organically without chemicals, and he knows what he's talking about it, because he's been doing this for the past 52 years, and he has done a research on organic farming and agroecology. And he has released a book that will be presented, that is online, that you can receive and download it for free online. The name of the book that the professor has released is Organic Food System Meeting the Needs of Southern Africa. So I'm going to give, yes, there is the book that professor is showing. Professor, I'm going to give you the platform to come and address and also show how, as the small scale farmers in the fisheries and everybody who is on board are trying to get the attention of government to do. So Professor, you may take your platform. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Moipone. It's been really good to hear the voice of farmers and fishers from around the country. And as you've heard, they are struggling, and government support is only for chemicals. Government doesn't have a policy on organic farming or agroecology. We've been talking and talking with government for 20 years, trying to get a policy developed. And every time it gets developed, and then it goes to the side, and we don't hear about anything of support for agroecology, only support for chemical companies. The Minister Didiza in Parliament yesterday announced that she's cutting the budget, and we understand, we sympathize with government. The situation is difficult. We have to spread our resources in a different way. But she announced, which we could not understand, that the budget for food security has been cut by 939 million rands. How can that happen when we're going to have so many hungry people in the next 6 months? So research funding also goes mostly to testing chemical inputs rather than sustainable systems. I've now been put onto the board of the Agricultural Research Council, and it seems as if the new board is serious about helping us to do research into how we use our resources sustainably. But we need to see budget support for research into agroecology, research into sustainable fisheries. food quality has decreased dramatically over the past 70 years, while poison use went up. So we see an obesity pandemic. For the first time in the world over the last 10 years, the number of people who are obese, who have too much food, is more than the number of people who are malnourished, getting not enough food, because many people are eating the wrong food. They're eating unhealthy food, empty calories, salts, fats, and sugars. And the food that comes directly from the farmer, the fresh vegetables, the grass-fed meat, the fisheries harvest straight from the sea, that is healthy, real food, and that is what South Africa needs to nourish young minds, which we need so desperately in our development. So government should be rewarding organic farmers and supporting organic sector organizations and agroecological organizations. We desperately need assistance in building our institutions, building our capacity and training. Research and training in agroecology are desperately needed, not subsidies for poisons. We need to move away from this approach of farm input subsidy programs where we give away free fertilizers and free GM and hybrid seeds and poisons. What we need instead is to be giving support to the kind of farming that will promote biodiversity, the kind of farming with using compost, which will promote the nutrient holding in the soil and which will promote the water holding capacity of the soil. The research in my book, which has been mentioned, shows how the Mandela trials over the last 5 years at Nelson Mandela University have shown how we can raise the yields of organic farming systems to equal those of conventional farming, but we need science to do it and we need research budgets to help with that. So with climate change, we will have less rain available and higher temperatures for farmers, and put that together with COVID-19, we are in for a multiple crisis. I wrote a piece in the Daily Maverick this morning analyzing the situation, the multiple crisis we find ourselves in, and showing how the Agricultural Research Council has accurately analyzed the situation, but how the solutions proposed are still more of the same. As Einstein said, you cannot change a situation that has come about, a problem that's come about with the same thinking that created the problem. We need fresh thinking based on agroecology. Municipalities should be composting grass cuttings and waste, and they should be giving them to smallholder farmers. There should be agri-hubs where small-scale farmers can add value to crops, and they should be processing that these crops can then go to school children to improve nutrition from local food systems. So the solutions are very clear. We know what the solutions are. Some research has been done. More research is needed. Capacity building is needed. But more than ever, anything else, if government is going to deal with the COVID-19 pandemic, we need to promote healthy food by supporting the farmers who are going to produce it. Thank you very much. You're muted, Moipone. We can't hear you.
Okay, thank you, Professor. I was saying that was very quick and very profound speech statement from you. Yes, we need a policy on agroecology. It's been a long time we've been calling government to make a policy on agroecology and recognize it that it is an alternative. It is an alternative in order to assist, you know, in terms of, like, for example, we are having a poor health infrastructure in our country. And most of the people who need the health system are people who are suffering from chronic diseases that are caused by these GMOs that we've been fed by these big commercial farmers. Because a lot of chemicals are put into the food that we are eating. A lot of chemical fertilizers are put in pesticides, you know, everything, even the GMOs that we are eating. So we, as the small scale farmers in the fishery, we are saying, as a coalition, as small civil society organization, we are calling on government to have the policy on agroecology. Yes, Professor, it's very true that, you know, even this relief fund from COVID-19 is only given to those people who are providing a chemical, you know, in terms of relieving the small-scale farmers with implements to work and pump funds in building the small-scale farmers, they expect them to use the chemicals, the chemical pesticides that are very detrimental to our health system. So yes, Professor, that is a very profound statement that you have just made at the moment. So I've seen we have a very active platform or in the chat room. At the moment now, we are going to allow the attendees to pose questions. Ray, can you please unmute those who wants to? I'm going to give 5 people to pose questions if they have questions that they need to pose to the panelists so that they can answer to the statement. So if you want to raise a question or to make a comment, please raise up your hand and then we will allow you to be on the platform. Thank you, my panelists. We were very, very on point on what we as the civil society coalition want from the government, the kind of the response that we want and the alternative, because we're not questioning the budget, but we're also providing the alternative that government needs to implement. So we will also make sure that we follow up in this and make sure that government listen to the people, because like we are saying, there is no way that you can do things for us without involving the people, because we are the ones who are more experienced on what our livelihoods are, how do we sustain ourselves, and how can we get out of this pandemic. And with all of us being on board, we can do this. We can do things differently, because like Professor has just said, that we cannot, the same system that created the problems and the challenges, we cannot apply the very same methods to rectify the challenges that we're experiencing at the moment. So I don't know who is raising their hand. Yes.
So good morning.
Okay.
May I go? Thanks. Yes. Thank you very much to the 4 panelists. It was excellent. I really enjoyed Solene, as haven't heard from her in a long time, so it was beautiful. I have 2 questions. One is for Andile and one is for Solene. Andile, you didn't tell us how much land you've got or where you got land, and you haven't told us about the lack of land in the country. And perhaps you can speak to that, because we cannot have talk about food and small farmers growing food if people don't have land. And perhaps, Solene, you can tell us a little bit about the limitations of government's fishing rights to you and to fishers, so that you are stuck for many months just watching the ocean without being able to fish. So perhaps if you can use this also, and Naseegh as well, to talk a little bit more about just the limitations that government puts on fishers as well. Thank you.
Oh.
Moipone, you're muted.
Thank you. You can proceed, Comrade Andile. Yes.
Oh, yes. We as a young people, we identified a land that is the unused land. It's about 3 hectares. So we formed a co-ops, and then we went to a municipality. to the Department of Land Affairs in municipality. We made an lease agreement, 100 years, for 100 years lease agreement. And there was a portion of UNATI's land there. It's about 1 hectare. So we, after we went to the municipality to make that lease agreement, we met to the principal of that school, UNATI High School. So the principal, UNATI High School, gave us a lease agreement as well there for about 10 years. So to utilize that land, if we utilize that land effectively, he will extend the years of that lease. So we started that farming 2016, December 2016. We were 2 when we were started that. As time goes by, we increased, the number increased. So we had to fight for that land, because the land, well, the residents didn't want first, us to utilize that land. So we asked them, why, you preventing us from using this land? So we just went to the municipality straight. So now the people, the residents now are realizing that no, they are benefiting from this, from this land now. Now they are, they starting to assist us with the, with the marketing as well. So this is how we get the land. We made a lease agreement to the municipality, but yeah, we stole. I will be honest. We stole the water because we didn't have access to water. So we stole the municipality water. To water our garden, to water our farm. So, and we also, doing rain harvest. To water our garden, as we know that the water from the municipality are full of chemicals which are not good for our plantation. Thanks. Yes, yes, we need land, yeah, because we cannot expand, we cannot grow without without those two key things, land and water. So we need more land and tools, to work the land. So yes, I think government should put more support on small scale farmers as we are struggling. We went to last year as Inyanda National Land Movement in Thala last year, November last year. We were doing participatory research where we cite animals are sharing water with people, and people have to to hire transport to go and fetch water to other areas. So there's a water crisis in this country, especially in this province. Big thanks.
Thank you, Comrade Andile. Are you done?
Yes,
okay.
I'm done.
Yes. Okay, Comrade. This shows that this budget cuts, is going to have a severe impact on the lives of our people, because you can hear from Comrade Andile that we need more land. And now the land reform process is going to be compromised because more budget has been shifted, from this. And then our people were led, before the election that, we are going to get our land back without compensation. And government was showing that, is going to lead this process and is going to happen. But at the moment, it's quite, confusing, because when you cut the budget of agriculture and land reform, it shows that, it was just a farce by government. And we need land. From Comrade Andile's experience, you can see that when we say we need land to farm and to produce, we can do it. We can do it because we are the one who can be able to to handle. We know that we can feed our people if we can be given an opportunity, we can be given land. Because we've been working on this land for the past years. You know, the white people and the big commercial farmers, they are owning the land, but the land is worked by the African people. The people of this country are working this land. So we have an experience, and we know when we say we want the land back in the hands of the people, so that we can shift the economy, so that we can shift, you know, our participation in developing our food system. So, comrades, is there any other one who would like to raise a question from the platform?
What about Solene?
Oh, Comrade Solene, yes, the question that was raised, that was directed to Comrade Solene. Can she respond? Comrade Solene, are you still here?
You'll need to unmute yourself, Solene.
Comrade Solene, can you please unmute yourself and then take the platform in? Just want to check on...
Ja, Mercia.
Yes.
Op jou vraag is dat soms moet ons net kyk na die water, ja. Want ons kan gaan, as jy elke dag 'n seedag om see toe te gaan nie, jy moet visvangste. Ons offshore lê nog steeds in die water en ek dink die hele Weskus is offshore lê in die water. Ek het met die direkteur gepraat by DEF en sy het vir my gesê, hoekom vang julle nie snoek nie? Ons is nie God dat ons vir julle kan dat dit nie altyd vis daar is nie, maar wat ek wel weet, 'n vis is 'n rondtrekkende vis. 'n vis is en visse kyk rond. Ons het gevra vir area verskuiwing, nee, niks. Daar word geensins iets doen. Honger. Dit loop mense in, mense word nie betaal nie. Dis hoekom ons suffer. Soos niks word vir ons mense gedoen nie. As iemand net kan verstaan of in 'n visser moet staan. As 'n visser vandag see toe gaan en hy vang 1 of 2 visse. Hy het R1000 onkoste gemaak vir petrol vir die dag. Hy kom met 3 visse huis toe. Wat sê die man vir die vrou wat wag om kos op die tafel te sit? Dit is baie moeilik en ek moet sê, ons vissers struggle. 20 jaar gelede was dit beter vir ons af met die 10 krewe wat ons kon vang. En ja, ons praat want dit is al high-value species wat ons het om 1 keer 'n jaar dan 'n bietjie geld te in. Moet ek vir jou sê, was ons met die 10 krewe baie beter af as nou, want die krewe word al meer en ons sit nog steeds met lang lyste met mense wat geensins nog 'n reg het nie. Ons in die Weskaap het nog nie regte nie, ons moet nog net aangaan met die vis wat hulle vir ons gee en ons moet tevrede wees daarmee. So, definitief moet die budget verander en na die man op die grond sit, want ons is die poorest of the poor. Ons is die mense wat ly, wat die inkomste het nie. Dis hoekom die relief van die belangrikste is en ons as vissers verwag dat dit onmiddellik in werking moet tree.
Anyone who can do a short interpretation of what Comrade Solene have just said?
Can we ask Naseegh? Then he can also comment, please.
Yes, Comrade Naseegh, you can unmute and just give a summary of what Comrade has just said.
I feel a bit bad because I didn't listen that closely and I'm being put on the spot here. But essentially, I think that the gist of what she's saying is that most of the time that they sit and watch the water, so they're unable to go in because there are only so many days that you can go fish. You can't go out every day. But of particular irritation to them was that they had approached the department. Sue Middleton, I think, is the official at the department she refers to. They've approached the department to shift, to move from one area to another area where it is possible for them to go and fish. And that permission was not given. In fact, they were just told to go away and not to ask questions like that. You know, so there's no, in essence, it is the department that is providing limitations where things it would be possible for them to move. It is the department that prevents. But let me just add a couple of other points. I think what are limitations, what are problems that comes from government is particularly in inland, in our Jwayi Dam area, where fishers have been told, okay, fishing is an essential service, you can come fish, but you must come fish with your permit in your hand. If you don't have a copy of your permit, then you can't come in. But the problem is, nowhere is it possible, all the copying places is closed. They don't have copying machines at homes or nearby. So it's an illogical request. You know, it says you have a right, but you can't exercise that right. The same with snook. Snook is a migratory species in the Greater Western Cape area, that you have to drive to where the snook is so that you can come from Anderston to Langebaan or Saldanha, which is about, 50, 60 kilometers away, but you're unable to get there because there are curfews in place. And it is an overnight issue, and the time that allows is just makes it impossible to exercise that. So there are these issues that government says that you have the right, but then they put in place so many different obstacles that makes the right hollow. You know, it is empty. Particularly critically also is the fact that there is no market. You can go fish, but when you land your fish, there's nobody to buy it from you. Or there's no one, because people are all in lockdown. People may not move, may not travel, may not cross in the streets. So what's the point? Unless you're a big commercial company and you have your own refrigerated trucks, then it works. So, you know, it just seems that everything is leaning towards benefiting industry and not small scale.
Okay, thank you, Comrade. Comrade, we're about to wrap up now because now we are running out of time. But can you, the panelists, respond to the two questions that were raised by Siviwe and Matt? Matt was saying now we are seeing that government is not providing funds to agroecology, and so what are we going to do? Are we saying that we should mobilize more funds internationally? Is it proper to do so, or you know, what can we do in order to address this issue of lack of funds in agroecology? Yes, Professor.
Two hands up for some. Sarah Morta's had her hand up for a long time, and Vanessa Black also has a hand. Do we have time to question?
Okay. Okay, Vanessa, you can take the platform.
Oh, shame. I think Sarah had longer. Okay. So I have a question to the panelists around the kind of support that producers would like to see from government, because I was really dismayed in reading the speeches on the budget votes from not only the minister saying that we're cutting the support for food security basically, but also from the Deputy Minister Dlamini, who was talking about the kind of support that they will be giving through this budget. And he was talking about, for example, in increasing cotton production, increasing sugarcane production, and converting land. He was talking about 4,500 hectares being brought into cotton production in the small scale sector. And it's really alarming for me, because that means that's land taken out of production for for food, and it's taking land away from to ensure their right to food and their right to healthy food. So it seems that government's approach is very much one of get everyone into these commercial value chains, into this huge retail sector, producing commodity crops, and somehow through that money will trickle down to enable people to buy food to eat from these commercial value chains. So I think there's a fundamental misunderstanding about the kind of support that people on the ground are actually asking for. And so if the panelists could elaborate on the kind of support that we're asking government for in the budget, and what will really make it helpful to producers on the ground who are supplying their communities with actual nutritious food. Thanks.
Okay, anyone can respond to that, especially the person who got the question can respond. Anyone from the panelists can respond to that question. And before you respond, Professor, can we get the question from anything from Sarah, because she's been raising her hand also? And then so that when we respond, we can respond to all the questions. Thank you. Sarah?
Thank you, Chair. It's just a comment. I work for the Foundation for Human Rights, but also I'm a founder for a Peace Eco Village in a rural tribal authority land, which functions under the permission to occupy. I just want to share an experience to say, in the past 20 years, there's been a wave of rural-urban migration, and villages which are in the peripheries have been left to be ghost villages. So the agroecological model brings back or reverses rural-urban migration in a sense that you can practice ecological farming ways anywhere, even in desert. And this experience has taken me to countries like Egypt, where a desert is turned into a green ecological farming project. So my point is that though there is pitfalls on the permission to occupy, but in ghost rural villages, you are entering under the PTO 1 hectare minimum, and at the maximum, then the authority structure which functions under COCTA, which we can lobby more, gives you as much land as you want because there's no one there actually. I just want to share that experience. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Yes, Professor Raymond, you can respond to Vanessa's question. Please unmute yourself, Professor.
Thanks. Sorry. Response to both questions. I think Sarah's question is very appropriate, and yeah, the move towards agri-villages is really important. And Vanessa asks what kind of help's appropriate. I think we have heard already from Andile and from the farmers on the panel some of the things that are needed. Andile told us very clearly that it's access to land and access to water that are needed. But the other thing is that we are really upset that at the moment, any assistance that goes to farmers is mainly for fertilizers and chemicals and GM seeds and hybrid seeds. What we would like to see is support for organic inputs. So what organic inputs are we talking about? Well, South Africa, the soils are very low on phosphate, and organic farmers can't use superphosphate, but they can use rock phosphate. Rock phosphate is a natural fertilizer. If farmers were allowed to get subsidy on rock phosphate, that would help their soils to become more fertile. And if they were allowed to buy compost with subsidy money, that would help a great deal as well. As I said in my presentation, I think the municipalities should be developing municipal composting programs and making that compost available to farmers. And I think that would really help a great deal. I think we also have to see the training ramped up. We're now in a situation where in 6 months' time, there's going to be a lot of pressure on the food system. And the South African Organic Sector Organization has a number of training schemes where we help farmers to get going with training, but we don't have funding to roll these out. We are busy training pollinators. We've got a bit of funding, but where is that coming from? The German government. our government is not supporting training in organics at all in any way. And we've been asking and pleading for years and years and years. And somehow the fertilizer representatives and the chemical representatives seem to be able to take influential people out to lunch, and all of a sudden there are announcements that there's this support for fertilizer and that support for GM seed. Whereas we want to see seed exchange from small-scale farmers. We are worried about the laws that are changing to make it illegal for farmers to exchange seed. It's the right of farmers to harvest their seed and to exchange with other farmers. And farmers should never be deprived of that right. Otherwise, we will deprive the world of food security. So we want to see seed exchange. We want to see support for small seed enterprises. We want to see support for compost making and compost being made available to small-scale farmers. We want to see support for natural fertilizers and also for institution building where farmer organizations are strengthened. At the moment, it's almost completely volunteers. All the small-scale farmers present will know how difficult it is to find the money and the time to go to meetings when you are trying to desperately make enough money out of your farming to support your family. So we do need support for that capacity building. It's absolutely vital. Thank you.
Moipone, I need to respond to the question as well, if I could.
Okay, may proceed.
Thanks. I think it's important to, on what is it that we want, what is it that the government could have put money in. For us, it is local markets. For us, it is developing local markets. Instead of export, all that we see is the exporting contributes to worsening climate change, to worsening, pollution production. If we localize the market, then we help mitigate climate change. We help develop access to food at a local level, and it just makes perfect sense, that investment should have gone into localization of small-scale food producers' markets. This is a critical issue that should never have been ignored and can and ought to be taken into account.
Thank you. And also the role of women in all of this. Women need support because 80% of small-scale farmers are women. And women are the ones who are providing food at the local level, at the household level. So we need government to recognize women. That is why as Rural Women Assembly was calling for 1 woman, 1 hectare. So it's still our call and we still need that to be implemented. So I believe that we are about to wrap up our session, and then thank you everyone for attending this meeting and for your contribution, especially our panelists who have made such a huge contribution and powerful statement in calling government to address the needs of small-scale farmers in fisheries. And also, we need government to redo the budget and also take the call of the people into cognizance that you cannot do without us, you cannot plan without us. You need to involve the small-scale farmers. And that policy that we are calling for of agroecology, we need to see government implementing that policy, initiating the process of making that policy available, because that is the only alternative that will take us out of this mess. So I would like to say to all the panelists and also the media that have supported us throughout from the beginning of this session up until now, thank you for taking all of your time and time to spend time with us. And those who have just joined us, you will get the recording from YouTube. We will circulate in the social media. And we're still going to do follow-up meetings to follow up on our demand as small-scale farmers and the coalition of civil society organizations that are responding to COVID-19. And we are saying to all the people, thank you. And then we are about to leave the meeting. Thank you very much. You were wonderful. participants. Thank you. Bye.
Thank
You
you
can
very much.
unmute, comrades.